Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our live broadcast. There we go. Right. Tonight we're looking at Anguttara Nikaya, Book of Fours, number 41. Chattaso ima bhikkhave samadhi bhavana. O monks, O bhikkhus, O those of you who have seen the danger in samsara and look to bring yourselves out of suffering and into peace and happiness. There are these 4 cultivations of samadhi. Bhavana, cultivations, development. Samadhi means focus or concentration. The sutta is, I think, quite interesting in providing us with a look at how not all meditation is the same. Not all cultivation of concentration is the same. Not all concentration leads to the same result. Or different concentrations, different practices of meditation lead to different results. Because this is a question that people have and a confusion that arises. We have the idea that meditation leads to certain results. And so it's common for people who come to meditate here in a insight meditation center, but they're looking for calm. They're looking for peace, like peaceful feelings, tranquility. Sometimes people practice meditation looking for healing or for magical powers, perhaps, astral travel, or even looking for spiritual insight, but having a broad variety of understandings as to what insight is. So still often have very different ideas about what is insight. What does it mean? What is the wisdom that we're looking for? And so this sort of puts to rest the idea that there's only one type of meditation, and it also provides some framework and understanding the differences in meditation, so that not having expectations beyond what your meditation your meditation practice will most likely provide. A lot of people have the idea that through the practice of tranquility meditation you can gain insight, for example. Now I would contest that in many cases in many cases of tranquility meditation, there will be no cultivation of insight, not directly, not using that technique, certain techniques. And this is, I think, a problem for a lot of people, because they get lulled into the idea that they're somehow enlightened, and they've skipped the whole cultivation of insight, not realizing that there's a very deep and vast plane of insight development and wisdom that they're missing. So let's look at these four, and we can get an idea of the different types of meditation that exist based on the results. So the first one, the Buddha says, Atti bhikkhave samadhi bhavana. There is this cultivation of concentration, bhavita bahulikata, when developed, when made much of, ditta dhamma sukha viharaya samvatati, which is for the dwelling in happiness in the here and now, or in present reality, visible reality. That's number one. Number two, atti bhikkhave samadhi bhavana bhavita bahulikata. There is this cultivation of concentration which, when practiced, when made much of, jnana dasana patilabhaya samvatati, leads to, or is for the purpose of attaining knowledge and vision. Number two. Number three, atti bhikkhave samadhi bhavana bhavavita bahulikata sati sampajanyaya samutati. There is this meditation which is for the purpose of cultivating or attaining mindfulness and clear comprehension. Number three. And number four, samadhi, atti bhikkhave samadhi bhavana bhavita bahulikata asavanang khayaya samvatati. It is for the purpose of the destruction of the taints, the poisons in the mind. So one for being happy in the here and now, one for gaining knowledge and vision, one for gaining mindfulness and clear comprehension, and one for destroying one's the poisons in the mind that cause suffering for us and others. And then he goes on to explain these four. This is really good sutta that has explanation, a description of these four types of meditation. So the first one, what is the meditation that leads to concentration, or leads to dwelling happily in the visible reality, like here and now, like without having to wait for happiness? This is the four jhanas. So if you've heard of these four jhanas, and everyone asks about these, if you've heard and read any of the Buddha's teachings, you'll often hear about these. And so he describes how the first jhana is secluded from sensuality, is secluded from unwholesomeness, which has rapture and pleasure born of seclusion. And the second jhana, and the third jhana, and the fourth jhana, which is equanimous, mindful, and dwelling happily. No, that's the third jhana, right? Fourth jhana, third, fourth jhana. These are meditations that we call tranquility meditation, where you focus your mind on a single object, a concept, like a color, or you create something in your mind, you focus on an idea, or maybe you focus on many ideas. You focus your attention on beings, for example, loving kindness, or you focus on the parts of the body, or you focus on a color or an element like earth or so on. And your mind becomes very calm and very focused because the concept is stable. It's something you can sink your mind into and rest in it without being disturbed by the vicissitudes of life, because it doesn't change. This we don't practice here. This one we sort of put to the side, to the dissatisfaction and disappointment of many meditators I know. I guess it sounds so wonderful, and it is wonderful. It's a great thing to do, but we really don't have the time to go through all that and to cultivate all that strong concentration, strong absorption. So if you have the time, you're welcome to develop it. There's no question that it's a good thing. But whether it's actually worth the time when you have limited time and when you have lots and lots of defilements to get through, it might not be the best use of your time. Because it doesn't lead to overcoming the taints, it doesn't lead to the other three really. It can lead to the second one. So the second one is, well, the Buddha describes it in a fairly, somewhat surprising manner, but I think it's something that we really don't, we don't, it doesn't really, it's not something we easily understand. He says, knowledge and vision, you use, you focus on the concept of light. You have the perception of light. So I think the idea is to be able to see, to have vision. And the commentary says this relates to the divine eye. But generally what this idea is that you're trying, I mean, people talk about opening the third eye, so my guess is it has some relation to the third eye and that kind of thing. I mean, it's all about magical powers. Knowledge and vision means knowing things that are beyond the knowledge of ordinary beings and seeing things that are beyond the vision of ordinary beings. So when you can see things far away, you use light to do that. You imagine light, because when you close your eyes it's dark and you imagine a shining light in the room around you, which allows you to see the room even with your eyes closed. And so you're thereby, through that practice, you're able to eventually see things far away, if you have a strong concentration. So there are meditations like that, and there's many more. This would also include any kind of magical power that one might develop. You can have the divine ear, which means you can hear things far away, and you develop that in its own way. There are meditations that allow you to do that, to remember your past lives, to fly through the air, astral travel and all that. That's with a mind that is open and uncovered. He develops a mind imbued with luminosity. Anything that leads to abhinya, special knowledge and vision. So these two are really samatha. They go together. You know, the first one is the standard practice of tranquility meditation. The second one is advanced practice of tranquility, where you actually use it, you manipulate. So you would manipulate this stable object in certain ways, like in this way there would be light and you'd manipulate it to use it to brighten the room in your mind's eye and that kind of thing. And you can manipulate the tranquility in many different ways. But it has nothing to do with reality. Even seeing things far away doesn't have anything to do with the reality underlying the vision. For that, you don't need the divine eye to see reality. And so there are two more. The other two are more related to mindfulness and insight. So the third one, the concentration that leads to mindfulness and clear comprehension, is the practice of Satipatthana. Seeing the arising of the four Satipatthana, the rising of experiential reality. So, for example, when you're practicing tranquility and you become very peaceful and calm, as everyone here should be aware, that the practice of mindfulness would be to focus on the calm. You actually take that calm or that happiness as your object, because it's real, and you focus on it. And when you focus on it, you're no longer developing it. You're no longer feeding it. And so you see it fade away. And you get to see your reaction to it fading away. And you get to learn about the underlying reality behind the meditation. It's like a metta meditation, M-E-T-A, where you step outside of your habits and you start to study them and learn about the way you relate to reality. And so you watch the experiences arise, persist, and fade away. This is separate from the fourth in the sense that it's in and of itself a meditation, because it's living your life mindfully. As the Buddha says, for mindfulness and clear comprehension. I mean, this is what allows you to be present in all your experiences and all the challenges and conflicts that you face in life. And the ability to make wise decisions depends upon this kind of clear comprehension, to be able to deal with your life with an objective, clear, and fully present mind, a mind that is able to look beyond partiality and ego and delusion, ignorance, mind that's able to see what's really going on. So when you're in a conflict, you're able to be aware of your emotions, and you're fully aware of the other person and their state of mind as you are present with their behavior and their actions. So you can use this in a worldly sense. It's a lot of people who come to meditate will immediately feel the worldly benefits of mindfulness meditation, even before they become enlightened. You don't need to focus your mind or calm your mind. Simply studying and adjusting your mind so that you can see things, you can study things objectively, so that you can learn about how your mind works and how reality works. Just by watching the reality, but not cultivating a focus on a single object. Watching ordinary reality as it comes and goes. Somewhat like choiceless awareness, they often call it. You don't choose. Even if you have an object, you will let your mind wander, and when it does wander, you will catch it, and you will watch it, and you will learn and study it. number 3. Number 4. Number 4 is like advanced. So this is kind of like beginner, advanced, beginner, advanced. So the third one is sort of a basic. It's a simple. It's rudimentary, or it's the foundation of mindfulness, if you will. But the fourth one is the application of that mindfulness in such a way that you actually change the way your mind works, and in the way that you, in such a way that you change the way you look at reality, and that you free yourself from bad habits, you free yourself from reactions, and you free yourself from stress and suffering. So the fourth one is specifically relating to the 5 aggregates. It's very much, it's actually quite similar to the third one in description. But it relates to actually applying mindfulness, not just to solve your problems and live your life aware and alert, but to actually change the way your mind works. It's very much, it's sort of the same meditation in many ways, but it's the application, because once you apply mindfulness, you enter into another state, a state of perfect wisdom and knowledge of the nature of reality. It is not stable, satisfying, controllable. It is not worth clinging to. And the mind lets go. The fourth one, you might say, is really referring to Nibbana. As we were talking about last night, the Magga-citta. The first taste of Nibbana is what destroys the defilement. So it's actually a super mundane meditation. It's outside of samsara. It's outside of the realms of arisen reality. There is no arising. There is no ceasing. There is only peace and freedom. So it's most interesting for the clear description of the difference between tranquility meditation and insight meditation. That there clearly are, and this is something, this is clearly investigated, something you can investigate. You can see this clearly with different types of meditation practice. Some of them just make you calm and peaceful. Some of them have superior motives or beyond just tranquility in terms of cultivating special knowledge and vision. But other meditations, mindfulness meditation, is much more about learning about yourself, learning about the way your mind works, not using your mind, but using your mind to learn about your mind. And ultimately to free yourself from suffering, to uproot the tendencies to be greedy or angry, uproot the delusion that makes us think that those things could ever be of any benefit. So it's an important sort of this is a core teaching on the 4 types of meditation. It's also found in the Sangiti Sutta. Sangiti Sutta is a gathering together of many of the important lists, or groups of groupings of Dhammas in the Buddha's teaching. Sariputta put this list together, we think. I think that's the tradition, and it's got a list of all the different, like 4 of this, 5 of that, the most important ones. It's in the Digha Nikaya. And it was, Sangiti means chantings or something like that. So it's the sutta that should be chanted. So these 4 are in there. Anyway. I think we should be happy that we're practicing. One reason for teaching this, it helps us to appreciate what we're practicing and the benefits of what we're practicing, to realize that there's a reason for the fact that it's not always peaceful and calm in the meditation that we practice. There's a reason for it being challenging, stressful. Well, not stressful, but challenging and disturbing. It's meant to disturb and to stir up the mind, to challenge our views and our beliefs. It's not a meditation. The meditation we do is not a meditation. It's just meant to cultivate calm and tranquility. So, that's the Dhamma for this evening. And just stop there. And we'll go on to questions. Robin's here tonight. In the same room, which poses a little bit of challenge for us. I'm actually not sure. I have to make sure. How's the audio? Are we getting complaints yet? No complaints. Let us know if there's any problem with the audio, because we've got a kind of a funky setup here with 2 microphones. Audio is good. Okay, so that's your mic, Robin. Can one of you guys turn on the fan there?
Yeah, sure.
Right here.
Oh, no.
The left one. Turn it to the left. There you go. You can remember to do that every night, because otherwise you guys don't get... Actually, you better not. Wait, oh no. It actually doesn't work that way, because now how's that?
How's that?
Yeah. You can get a little closer. Okay. See if we can do this. You got it?
Almost. Sorry, I'm not sure that I have the correct version here. It's just reloading.
It's kind of strange that way, like it wants to reload, but it doesn't. Like it doesn't actually reload in the end.
Oh, here it is. You ready for questions, Bante?
I'm ready.
Hi, Bante. Sometimes during meditation, my mind gets kind of disconnected, and it's like moments in which I'm asleep, but the body keeps straight. I cannot catch it at the beginning, and at the end I notice knowing. Is this due to lack of concentration? Thanks.
It's not lack of concentration, it's, you could say lack of mindfulness, but it's how your mind is. I mean, the mind is not perfect, and the brain is involved as well, so especially for a beginner meditator. I mean, most commonly this is a beginner meditator problem, or it's a problem for a meditator who is struggling with ordinary life and meditation together. So it's, you could say, I mean, one way of describing it would be an imbalanced mind. Why? Because for someone who comes to do a meditation course, after a few days this works itself out. for the most part. Now, this phenomenon can of course occur at any time. It happens because the brain and the mind are not perfect, and so you might start to drift. There are also other reasons for it, for this kind of experience, but for most people it's just a beginner thing, or a part of the struggle to do both, worldly things and meditation. So it's something you have to struggle with. It's not something I would concern yourself with. A lot of people get this. This is quite common. So what you should do is, when you are able, you focus much more on when you are able to be mindful. And as you say, you end it by saying knowing. If you're worried about it, then you should focus more on that, the fact that you're worried, or if you're frustrated, or if you feel like you're not getting anything out of your meditation. A big part of the meditation is becoming non-judgmental, right? So rather than trying to fix your mind, learning how to be present when you can, and objective about the experiences.
Once a meditator has been on one of your courses or has learned the skills of meditating, such as being able to pick up thoughts as they arise, if they don't practice for a while, do they lose the skills?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, you would lose the skills. Now, if you get to the state of being a sotapanna, so if you actually realize, if you experience nibbana, there's something that stays with you, that doesn't disappear. Now, you might lose some clarity of mind if you don't keep it up, but some clarity of mind will stay. And then if you go on and see, the more you realize nibbana, the closer you come to it, and the more you leave samsara behind. So you see nibbana again and again and again. A meditator will enter into this, for lack of a better word, enter into the state of realization of nibbana, and that shifts the mind in that direction. Now that doesn't fade away. To the extent that an arahant, someone who has gone all the way, so that they have completely freed themselves from defilements, has a clear mind at all times. So yes and no. I mean, no ultimately. Ultimately, no, we're aiming to keep these things, but you have to attain you have to get to the point where you experience nibbana, and that's when it sticks, because it changes the very fabric of who you are. Bit by bit.
Are you all caught up on questions already?
Oh, we've got one more just showed up.
Okay. How have you been? Just a little about me. I work fast food. Occasionally some really nasty people will come in and be really angry and mean to me. Out of spite, I treat them as nicely as possible, because I know that by doing so they will suffer. If an action is positive with bad intent, what type of karma does this turn into?
Just spite and kind to them. Never heard anyone say that they're nice out of spite, right?
That's being real honest.
Yeah, but it's not really nice, is the funny thing, right? It's fake nice.
Yeah.
You know, this state where because nice is in the mind, right? So an action is not positive because in your mind you're goading them, or you're egging them on or something. Now, but there's a little something there. Like, suppose you were instead to be patient with them and not react to them. You might do so thinking this is going to really make them upset, right? You could very well make them upset, but it's such because there's something to that, You upset people by not reacting. It triggers them. They want you to get upset, right? And then you don't get upset, and they're like, well, why isn't this person getting upset? And they get angry about that. And that is purely wholesome. There's nothing unwholesome about that, because you're not instigating it. You're not responsible for their state of mind. It's interesting because you could argue that if you were to react to them, get upset, then they might leave you alone, right? That's not really that way. A deeper explanation would be they've come into your realm because of their defilements. Because of a karmic connection that you have. They've come into your realm because you are together in the same, there's some connection that you have with these people. And they're going to stay in that realm because they're coming at you with a lot of negative intention, bad intention. When you don't react to it, you're leaving them behind, and they, that's jarring to them. But it's because of their state, So they get stuck in that state and they hurt themselves. You don't. If you react, and then they're happy because you're reacting and you're getting angry back at them, then you get stuck together with them and you prolong this relationship, right? When you rise above, you leave it to them, and then they hurt themselves. But they end it, They end it with you. They can no longer grasp at you. I mean, it's quite unpleasant for them because they have to experience the stress and the suffering, well, just as you do, except that you don't react to it. So there certainly is that. I mean, I'm maybe not explaining it. It's hard to describe, but if you get to that state, I mean, if you're a meditator, you've probably experienced this, where you're hopefully you've had this experience where you're confronted by someone and you just are mindful and at peace. And then maybe they're still very upset, but see it out, because you'll see the benefit, you'll see the good results that they have to deal with. The Buddha said it's like they give you a gift and it still belongs to them. I mean, they have to taste the flavor of their own, the meal they've served to you. They have to taste it themselves. It comes back on them, and you generally find that it's a good lesson for them, and they're given the taste of, well, they're given the taste of your purity as well. Whereas it doesn't actually solve anything to react badly, even though it's what they expect and it's what they want. It just prolongs the relationship, keeps you down in that realm of reactivity, because it cultivates the habit. It's an interesting idea. But when people are nice, it's almost right, because the idea is, well, I won't get angry because I know that's what they want, and that perpetuates this whole bad habit that they have. But we don't have, without meditation, we're unable to do the right thing, and so we fake it by pretending to be nice. Oh yes, well, thank you. And inside our mind is seething. Inside we're very wishing them harm, that kind of thing. So it's not really nice. You're not really being nice. Although it can be complicated. You can have a good intention to them, mixed in with that, right? So when you, suppose you're a server and they come in and you're very nice, but you give them, what they want, hoping, that they be happy, that kind of thing. It's very complicated. Karma is not something you can boil down to, this that I did there was a good karma or a bad karma. It's all very momentary. But there's a lot of problem with pretending to be nice. It's not really good karma. Just remember, it has nothing to do with your actions or your speech. It has everything to do with your state of mind that's behind it.
Isn't a sense of well-being from samadhi useful for having courage to delve into unpleasant or scary things in the mind?
I mean, that's sure, but yeah, I think you're maybe overthinking or perhaps overselling it, because it's not really necessary. You know. When things are unpleasant or scary, the best way is to face them head on and learn about them. Learn about to confront your fears. There's nothing scary. There's no such thing as an unpleasant or scary thing. So things that we react as being scary or unpleasant. Useful, yes, of course, it's useful. But how useful? I mean, I think people oversell the value of it. There's no way but forward. You have to face your and the big challenge is not being unable to face them. It's being kind of lazy or being more inclined to pleasant things. You know, just not doing it, really. The big challenge is actually doing it. And that's often the problem with tranquility meditation, is that it's so much more peaceful. So rather than actually doing mindfulness meditation, people will incline towards tranquility meditation. It sounds so nice, right? But there's no way but forward. You have to just learn to bear with unpleasant sensations and things that you find problematic. Learn to see them as they are.
Bhante, do your students tell you that they find courage from insight meditation as well?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's a part of it for sure. That, it's much more real, right? That's where real courage comes from, when you see that you can face, that you can not fix, but you can overcome and free yourself from the problems. I don't think the courage that comes from tranquility meditation is all that powerful. It's not related to the problem, right? If anything, it gives you relief, so you can always go back to it. So it in that sense, there's courage in terms of restoring your peace of mind. Because if you just do straight insight meditation, of course, it's very difficult, and it can be discouraging in that sense. There are, it is a common thing for meditators to have a hard time facing, just keeping up with the stress and the suffering, which I guess is really what this person is saying. The question is valid. So the idea that samatha meditation could help with that, yeah, sure. I don't. I mean, it's not that big of a deal, really. How helpful it is. Helpful, okay, helpful. I mean, I'm not going to deny it, but I think a big thing is the difference between meditators. So people who come here to meditate, they're not all the same. And some people who come to meditate, simply practicing satipatthana is not enough. So they come and they may fail. Now that's actually quite rare. We don't get that many people who come and aren't able to finish the course. I mean, some people don't have the time. But here I have 4 meditators. And I would say my expectation is they should all finish the course, right? And they're not doing any samatha meditation. So I mean, it's of course anecdotal, what are 4 people, but this is generally the case. Now each one of them is different, and they've all dealt with this this sense of discouragement, feeling discouraged, or they're dealing with it, and they may still deal with more. Well, certainly they will. So for some people, the Buddha might have a better way of doing it than we can see, than I can see, certainly. So he may give them some samatha meditation to do. And that somehow empowers them, as you say, gives them this encouragement. But by and large, most people are able to get by with just insight meditation. They save time because they don't have to do the tranquility. And it's it's less risky because not all samatha meditation is the same, and it's custom tailored to individuals, and without the Buddha here to advise us, we take the safe path and give you what we know is good and what we know is the core. And for the most part it works. It doesn't always work. But then, for some people nothing will work and they just won't make it. It's very rare. It's not common. We don't get many, but we do get some. And even those who don't, they usually are inclined to come back. Another thing you might argue is that some people wouldn't be inclined to come and practice this type of meditation. They might taste it or learn about it and be disinclined. Like we had one person recently, a young woman who practiced a couple of days and ran away. A friend of one of our students here. She didn't really know what we were practicing, and once she figured it out, couldn't take it. It's not what she was looking for. And so you could argue that tranquility meditation is a good way to encourage people to practice like that, to practice meditation, because it's much easier on them. So you might argue that tranquility meditation reaches a broader audience. I could go for that. If you're looking to reach a broader audience, you might want to start by teaching tranquility meditation, calm people down. But here's the question, is when you do that, how many of them are actually going to make it onto Vipassana and attain the goal? It's a good question, I don't know. I just know that we, with our focus very much on the core aspects of the practice of insight, we get good results with meditators in a fairly short time. In 3 weeks, someone can go through a whole course of insight meditation. It's quite profound. Not easy, but it's quite profound.
One do teachers who teach samadhi, tranquility meditation, do they encourage their students to go on to Vipassana after?
I mean, you're asking me to paint everyone with the same brush, but is that a leading question? You sound like leading.
No.
Was what you want to say, that you should just say it, because some people, some teachers don't, right? You know that.
I really don't.
Oh,
I really don't know,
yeah.
because I haven't studied, teachers widely at all. But I'm just curious if tranquility meditation teachers, feel that that's the end of it. That.
Well, obviously, some in other religions they certainly would. But I was thinking that some teachers think that they've gotten farther than they have. I think that's clearly the case. They only teach tranquility, and they think they mistake it as insight because they've never really experienced insight.
What time in the morning can you start eating if you keep that lifestyle? Thank you.
I mean, if you're a monk, we only eat from dawn to midday.
Does it literally change in the winter when it's lighter later, or is there a particular time?
Dawn is the first light.
So
it
that
still
could be
seems light.
pretty late in the winter.
Yeah, in fact, I think we might stretch it a little bit. Most monks do. Most monks don't look at the sun, but I've been concerned about that. In Winnipeg, it was a bit of a difficulty. I'm not sure how strict I'll be this year. Maybe I won't be so strict because people bring food pretty early. But I'll talk to them and see what we can do. We'll have to see how early, especially when the time goes back, right? Or no, when the time changes, it'll actually be better.
The clocks will go backwards in a couple of weeks, few weeks.
Right. So that'll actually mean it gets light later, doesn't it? No, it gets light earlier. I think it's good for that in that regard. Dawn will be earlier, midday will be earlier.
It will be darker later. So when the clocks go back.
It'll be darker earlier.
Darker earlier? In the morning?
No, at night.
No, I mean
Both.
in the morning. It would stay darker later.
No. Yes?
So when the clocks go back, it would be, okay, all backwards. So we put the clocks back. So then what used to be 7 o'clock is now going to be 6 o'clock. So it'll be darker, I think.
don't
Okay,
think so.
someone put it in chat because
Someone who knows something.
someone who
about this thing.
actually knows. So in this part of the world, we do this weird daylight savings time, and in a few weeks we'll put our clocks back an hour. And yeah, I think because what we now call 7 will be called 6, and it'll be dark, I think. Sorry. Bhante, does Sama Samadhi refer to Vipassana Jhana, Samatha Jhana, or both?
Neither. Sama Samadhi refers to Lokuttara Jhana. Neither Vipassana nor Samatha. It refers to Lokuttara Jhana of the Eightfold, of the Maggajitta. It's a special type of jhana. Which is really an important point, because when people say jhana is necessary, well, of course, because nibbana is a type of jhana, but you only enter into that jhana through seeing impermanent suffering and non-self, and then releasing samsara.
Okay, no one's clarifying for us whether it's going to be darker later in the morning.
Okay,
I
no.
think it might be.
So, let's say today it gets light at 7.
And if tomorrow was the day that we switch
It will
clocks
get
back,
light
it
at
would
6.
be 6.
So it will get light earlier. And it will get dark earlier. Now listen, if today gets light at 7,
Okay.
tomorrow that is actually 6. It'll still get
Okay.
light at that time, but now it's
Okay.
getting light at 6.
So it will be lighter earlier. Okay.
Yeah, I've thought about this because I have to think about this. So I knew that in the back of my mind without actually going through it. But
Thank you,
Yeah.
Bhante.
you're welcome.
I think we're caught up on questions.
All right, let's stop there then. Stop overhead. Okay, good night everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks Robin for being here. And Robin
Thank you,
came with her
Bhante.
husband, and they're going to help move some things tomorrow, I think. Good night everyone.